Woohoo! Good morning and hello, kids, and welcome to the Daily Beaver Morning Show. Today, recording day is Friday, June 19th, and Canada is celebrating a historic win at the World Cup from the team. Absolutely fantastic that this happened. Hey, we're all got to talk about other things too, however, because obviously it's the Daily Beaver Morning Show and not the Daily Beaver Morning Sports Show. But we will be talking about the World Cup. We will also be talking about the UCP, unfortunately, on the near eve of National Indigenous Peoples Day, doubling down on very, very disgusting anti-Indigenous tropes, and of course, the Conservative Party of Canada blowing up the entire game and narrative that they have been weaving over the last 2 weeks because they couldn't commit to the bit to the final end. So grab your favorite bevy, everyone, because here we go.
Good morning, this is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. PsychicTarot.ca, book your tarot reading and unlock your spiritual journey. And the Pepper Master, hot pepper sauces made from farm fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning and hello, kids, and welcome to season 6 and episode number 934 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. Oh, Canada, indeed. Always 100% Canadian, and of course, always be verific, particularly today. Oh my God, I am feeling so good. Today, recording day is Friday, uh, June 19th, 2026, and it is a gorgeous day here at the Beaver Lodge. I am your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver A. And not with me, as usual, is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly, even though we got a bonus dose of Grizzly if you watched our interview with Tyler Watt that we had yesterday. Mr. Grizzly was able to stop in and join us for a little bit. And of course, you're going to get more Grizzly tomorrow when we have our monthly pubcast. It's pubcast day. It's pubcast day, my favorite day of the month. And it also coincides with our mental health walk day. June 20th, a day where we encourage men and male identifying people to go out and take a walk for mental health, either to discuss their own mental health or to call up another man or male identifying person and go out and talk about theirs. And of course, if you do not have a male identifying friend or male friend to go do that with, then just pick somebody. But, in this day and age, well, a lot of us are more connected than ever, but still feel more isolated than ever, ironically. And a lot of people, particularly men, feel they don't have anybody to talk to when the feelings become just a little too overwhelming. So we are trying to destigmatize that and normalize that and making sure that, that we brothers can take care of each other, right? So if on this weekend, it doesn't have to be on the 20th specifically, but if on this weekend or anytime this week, let's say you are worried about somebody and would like to check in on them, this would be a good time to go do so. Just go out for a walk. Or if you have something on your mind and you really want to talk to someone, call up a friend and say, hey, can we have a chat? I need an ear, I need a shoulder, and let's normalize this. Now, this is not specifically a fundraiser, it's more to raise awareness. But if you would like to do a little extra good along the way, if there is a mental health services organization in your area that you would like to make a small contribution to, please do so. And if you can, let us know that you have, because we would like to know how much good we are doing with our little campaign here. And if you don't have one and would like to support ours, as you know, I have been on a little bit of a get healthier kick. I have lost 12 pounds so far, and I was asking for a pledge for $1 per pound or a couple more if you are more than willing to do that. And we would dedicate that money to our beneficiary organizations, the Men of the North program, which is Indigenous run, based out of La Ronge, Saskatchewan, and of course, the Lonely Man Project, based out of St. John's, Newfoundland, that is looking to start a resource center. Also, if you do happen to be in the Ottawa area and want to join us for the walk, we are going to be meeting at the Museum of Nature around, Metcalf Street around noon. So please meet up with there, and we're just going to take a little walk. And then after that, we will stop at the Lieutenant's Pump, which is our usual home base for our pubcasts, and have a live show there where we will not discuss politics at all. Some just good old pub chat, maybe some talk about mental health along the way. So if you'd like to sit in the audience and watch us do what we do, or if you would like to participate either on camera or just by voice, we have some extra microphones set up and we would love to have you there. So there we go, kids and cubs. We hope that you will join us tomorrow for that. Pubcast will probably start between, I'd say, 1:30 and 2 o'clock, sometime around there. Depends how quickly Mr. Grizzly can set up and how quickly we can do the transition from the walk to the actual pubcasting. But we very much look forward to seeing you there. And it is quite possible that we might have a little bit of a special thing for National Indigenous Peoples Day on the 21st. One of the reasons I'm a little late this morning is that we're actually working on setting up an interview with someone who plays a key role in the Imaginative Film Festival. So it was a good opportunity to highlight some Indigenous excellence. And hopefully, we will be able to get them today for the amount of time that we would like to be able to do a full show and have that for you either on the day itself, Sunday, or as our Monday show. One or the other. Depends how quickly we can put it all together because there's a couple of um, extra pieces to what we usually do here that we'd have to do to make this episode happen. So there you go, kids and cubs. And big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors, the Pepper Master, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvin Moon Publishing, and psychictarot.ca. And of course, how's your mental health today? Are you feeling good? Now, maybe if you're not a soccer fan, maybe you're not riding the same wave that we are. And if you may not be a soccer fan, but you might be a Canada fan and still riding the wave. That's pretty much more of the boat that I'm in. I don't tend to watch soccer usually, but when the Olympics come along and Team Canada is playing, and when the World Cup has come along and Team Canada is playing, well, I park my little beaver tail next in front of the TV and I do my patriotic duty. And I scream and I shout and I wave that flag and hope that all my good vibes lead to success. And I have to say, by being a bandwagoner, I've definitely got to see some pretty cool moments. No doubt about that. I might be becoming a bit of a soccer fan, though, however, after last night's match, because wow, Canada. Listen, when I said go get our 3 points, I meant it. But that match was a statement. So yeah, I'm feeling very, very good. Um, Another reason we're late, however, is we had a bit of an adventure here last night. We were doing laundry, so changed the linens for the bedding because there's one of life's um, small little pleasures are fresh linens, freshly laundered linens. And something happened to our dryer yesterday that was really weird. It seemed that the exhaust tube came unhooked, and as a result, obviously, our washer and dryer is in sort of like this closet area where the water heater is as well. And it seems that there was a lot of condensation that kind of happened because all the hot air was going into the space rather than exhausting. It seems that we have a stackable washer and dryer, and it seems that when the washer was shaking, something came loose. And we have these sensors on the floor because we have bamboo floors, and so we have some sensors on the floor in case there was a leak of the washer is what it's there for, a leak of the water tank, so we know when it happens, and it makes this really infernal racket. And we were just about getting ready to go to bed, and there was some stuff in the dryer, and then we hear that sound, and it's like that alarm sound going off, and it's like, oh my god, no, no, not now, we're just getting ready to go to bed, no, not now. And yeah, it turned out that the exhaust tube had somewhat come off. We tried to fix it ourselves, but we were unsuccessful. So we had to call someone, and they were here this morning taking care of that. I think everything's okay now, hopefully. But the last thing you want is severe water damage to your floors. Fortunately, just because it was condensate and it wasn't the washer leaking or the hot water tank leaking, because we got very panicked for a second there. So we're thinking, why is this thing ringing? There's nothing with water on. So it took us a while to figure out what the problem was in the first spot. But yeah, we had to have some people come over this morning to fix that. So unfortunately, I'm a little late, and of course, we got to bed much later. A planned 10:30 bedtime ended up being closer to 1 a.m. So a little tired today, but that's life. Sometimes it throws you a curveball or two, and yesterday was definitely one of those days. All right, we have a lot to talk about today. So, might as well just get into it, and let's start with yes, Kit Kat. I see that. Yes, signing the MOU with Iran and Versailles. No brain cells left. Yeah, that was some that was some next level trolling, wasn't it? From the part of the president of France. Uh, we might have a visual of that. We hadn't planned to present that, but since you mentioned it, we might present a little visual of that. But hey, let's talk about the good news. You saw me waving that Canadian flag there in the opening, and I've lovingly folded it and put it away. Make sure it didn't touch the ground. Very important. But kits and cubs, wow. Wow. Live from Vancouver last night. If you were watching, Team Canada made history. And not just any history, right? Not just the basic history that we were thinking. Canada maybe getting its first ever World Cup win, men's World Cup, of course, because the women, they've had that down on lock for a while now. But first men's World Cup win for Canada in 3 attempts. And that alone would have been history enough, right? Especially for if you've been a Canadian, a fan of soccer and Canadian, you haven't had a lot to feast on. Just saying. So this is a moment that a lot of people have been waiting for and waiting for. The draw against Bosnia and Herzegovina was satisfying in that it got, as the expression goes, a monkey off our back, in that we did get a point. But with the next match being against Switzerland, ranked number 19 in the world, and the top team in our pool, Getting 3 points here to move on was kind of important. The match was kind of described as a must win. I don't know if it was a must win, but it was definitely, it would definitely allow people to be breathing a whole lot easier if there was indeed a win. And then earlier in the day, Switzerland had defeated Bosnia and Herzegovina 4-1. So if you wanted to just keep up with the Swiss, because it was a big surprise that Qatar and Switzerland tied 1-1. And since we had tied 1-1, all of a sudden, if we could win, there was the possibility of not only moving to the next round, but even potentially finishing at the top of the pool. That would have been something. So at that point, right, those 3 points become a little more important. To all of a sudden, your ambitions might get a little bigger because finishing at the top of the pool obviously leads for a better draw when you get to the knockout round. And who doesn't like a better draw? Just saying, right? We want to keep this magic going. So the Canadian team took to the pitch. That singing of "O Canada," if you watched it, there is some video of it, but, how would I say? Not sure I can show it because I'm not sure where the source is, and I definitely don't wanna get dinged for it. If the people at the World Cup and the people at the Olympics are particularly feisty, with copyright. But, that was a singing of "O Canada" that, if that did not leave a little bit of a lump in your throat, if that did not give you some chills, if that did not bring a little bit of water to your eyes, um, I don't know, man. I don't know, man. That was just beautiful. It was a wonderful moment, and of course, uh, in the crowd, lots of people. I have heard somewhere that the attendance there it is, attendance 52,497 with a capacity of 54,405. That's a lot of people. I'm not sure if that's the uh, biggest attendance for a soccer match on Canadian soil. It could be quite possible. Um, but what a match. And what a wild match as well. Oh my word. Um, Yellow card for Team Canada right in the ninth minute. That's 2 matches in a row. Canada picks up a yellow card really, really early in the match. Uh, but then, um, amazingly, a red card for Qatar right off, also pretty early at 33 minutes. And, I'm not all that familiar with soccer, and I was watching it with my Beaver sweetie, who, of course, is European descent and is a little more familiar. And I'm looking at him, and it's like, the red card, does that mean it's going to be 11 against 10 for the rest of the match with, you know, 57 minutes to play, and plus all the stoppage time? And he looks at me and goes, yeah. I go, "Oh boy." And that was after Kyle Lauren again scored the first one in the 16th minute, and then Jonathan David scored in the 29th minute, 2 beautiful goals, and then, uh, the red card, which, like, I'm sitting there and I'm going, "Well, that pretty much guarantees a win." I don't know how I don't know if ever in soccer history a team has come down from a 2-0 deficit at the World Cup, being down 11 to 10 players on the pitch. So I was feeling pretty good about Team Canada getting the 3 points. And then the 53rd minute, a second red card for Qatar. And that one was extremely well deserved and well earned. Um, I wasn't that impressed, I have to say, by Team Qatar's sportsmanship with this match. Unfortunately, I'd like to say that there was good vibes all around, but it did not seem that that was going to be the case here with that. Um, but yeah, it's very rare that there are two red cards in a match. And I would have to look that up. They gave some stats on that yesterday during the show, but during the show, during the match. Um, but I didn't have a pen and paper handy to take down notes about all the historic stuff. I was just really focused on the screen. So let me just take a look at that as a team been double red carded at the World Cup. And that has only happened 15 times in World Cup history. Only 15 times in World Cup history. And it happened during that match. So it seemed then again that the stars were aligned. Um, and then another yellow card in the 62-minute for someone from Qatar. And that moment um, made stopped play for a while and made the stands go. I won't say eerily silent because when you got 52,000 people in a spot, uh, nothing is really quiet. But it changed the mood very quickly because that tripping incident by Fatih from Team Qatar uh, ended up uh, seriously injuring one of our players, Ismail Kone. Uh, and he was dragged out on a stretcher. But if you were listening to people on the pitch, I could hear people saying something about a broken leg. And again, I'm looking to my Beaver sweetie and said, like, did they just freaking break his leg? And like I'm saying, 2 red cards already, right? I think there was one time where somebody just like from Qatar just grabbed someone from behind and like just threw them to the ground or something. Um, and at the time of the match, we heard that he was being brought to hospital, and um, now we found out that he has to undergo leg surgery. So, according to the Canadian press, it says Jesse Marsh had heard the sickening crack before. The moment he saw Ishmael Kone crumple to the turf on Thursday night, Canada's head coach knew exactly what injury his midfielder had sustained. Quote, "It happened right in front of the bench. We could all hear it. I knew right away," Marsh said. "It was right in front of us, and everyone could hear the bones snap." As he dashed upfield early in the second half of Canada's FIFA World Cup match with Qatar, Kone was tackled by Asim Madibo, an act that broke the 24-year-old's Montrealer's left leg. Sorry, I misattributed the thing to Fatsi. It was at the 53 minutes. That was the serious foul that ended up with the second red card. I apologize for making that error here. I should have known that when I saw a serious foul that I had the wrong one. But my brain was going faster than my mouth. My mouth was going faster than my brain. um, as he dashed, and that act broke the 24-year-old Montrealer's left leg. The sound, Marsh said, was similar to the noise he heard when Canadian midfielder Tejan Buchanan suffered the same injury in training at the 2024 Copa America. Your heart goes out to Coney, and everybody's a little shaken by the whole experience because of the nature of the injury and also because Ishmael is a big part of the heart of our team, the coach said. It will be a big loss for us. He's been an amazing player these last 2 games. There was pushing and shoving between Canadian Qatari players as the trainers ran out to the field to assess the ailment. Medics eventually moved Kone to a stretcher, and he was wheeled off the field as fans in the red-clad crowd of 52,479 at BC Place chanted his name. Madibo was shown the red card for the play, and the hometown crowd jeered him with chants of shame. And you could hear it coming from the TV as he walked off the field, leaving Qatar down to 9 men. So now it's 11 versus 9. Kone headed to the hospital where, surrounded by his family, he awaited surgery late Thursday night. Canada, meanwhile, closed out the game thumping Qatar 6-0 for the nation's first ever win in a men's World Cup. And um, as you know, um, I can be petty. And when I saw that happen and I knew it was going to be 11-9, that's when I turned around to my Beaver sweetie and I said, okay, let's just score and score and score and score and score now. No mercy. I was hoping for 10-0 after this to really drive the message. But we'll take 6-0. We'll take 6-0. I am not a big fan of a lack of fair play. That's one of the things that I actually love about Canada, right? We are a fair play nation. So yeah, that type of stuff doesn't go over well here at all. As play continued, the Canadians kept their fallen teammate at the forefront of their minds. Nathan Saliba replaced Coney on the field, a task he described as challenging. Asked how he leveled his emotions in the moment, the 22-year-old midfielder said he didn't really. Quote, I just had to do it, he said. It's like throwing a baby in the ocean if he figures out how to swim. That's kind of how it was. And it's never easy to do something like this. And Saliba wasted no time making an impact. 6 minutes after coming on, he stood over a free kick, sending the ball up and over Qatar's wall and pinging it off the post. It was so beautiful to give Canada a commanding 4-0 lead. He formed his fingers into an 8, Coney's number, as he was mobbed by teammates midfield. Saliba then took Coney's jersey from the bench and held it up for the crowd to see. And this, fortunately, we can show you because it's not video. It's an image courtesy of the Canadian Olympic page. That was an amazing, amazing moment. Mm. Quote, I was just trying to do something for him and show that it's not just a game where we move on and people just keep doing our lives, Saliba said. I didn't feel like celebrating. I was just thinking about my friend. The Canadian contingent went to the hospital to be with their teammate after the game, but that was not before all of them afterwards. At the end of the match, doing this, having a little huddle. Whoops, that is holding up the jersey again, but let's try this one here. Having a huddle all together to not only mark the occasion here, but also have a moment to think about all the members of their team, especially the person that couldn't be there to do that. Now, yes, I see the comments here. The guy who did it looked beside himself almost instantly. That is true. That is true. Don't not sure. I don't think anybody intends to break someone else's leg. At least I hope not, because that would be terrible. But let's just say, with everything else that happened in the match, it was definitely there were people wondering if that was the case at the time. But at the moment, you're just sitting there. Oh my God, right? They broke his leg, or he broke his leg. However you wanted to see it at the moment. I believe the first person that had gotten the red card had twice pulled people down physically or pushed them. So that sort of vibe was already on the field. That if you didn't get to see the replay, a lot of people would have thought that it was intentional, but it is very, very true. And I'm glad you guys brought it up to be completely fair here, that the person who did that did seem beside himself. You could see that he had his hands on his head like this and was like, oh, like just couldn't believe that had happened. But um, that was um, it's a moment where the team could have lost composure. Let's put it that way, and decide that they were going to start hitting back around the end of the match. In stoppage time, there's a couple of moves by Team Canada that made it seem like, "No, guys, don't do this. Don't go get yourself carded right near the end. It's not worth it." But um, overall, the team kept composure because it's easy in a high emotion game, a high stakes game, to let your emotions get the better of you and lose mastery of yourselves. Kittlande also makes a good point here. If it had been intentional, the benches would have cleared and there would have been an all out brawl, which there nearly was at the end of the match, just before that moment where everybody gathered. There was a lot of pushing and shoving going on. Nobody likes to lose 6-0 in front of billions of people with a match that's broadcasted around the world, but you still need to keep mastery over yourself. And there were a couple of moments where that wasn't happening yesterday. And the article does go on to say that there was pushing and shoving between Canadian and Qatari players as trainers ran out to the field to assess the ailment. And then, of course, that was the first time, but there was more after that. Um, Defender Moise Bombito, who fractured his left leg while playing for Nice in October, posted a photo on social media showing Coney mugging for the cameras from his hospital bed. Coney, who made his 42nd appearance for the national squad on Thursday, is a special person, his teammates said. Quote, "He's a very honest person," Saliba said. "He's very calm. He's very genuine. He's a lovely guy, loves to joke around. He loves to bring people together. He's just a really good guy. And we're really going to be there for him. We're a second family, so we're going to do everything in our power to make sure he feels good and supported." Coney has 4 goals for Canada and plays his club soccer in Italy, where he had 6 goals over 35 games for Serie A side Sassuolo this season. His speed and dribbling ability will be missed, said defender Alistair Johnston. Quote, "For us to be at our best, he's a big part of it. But look, it's given us now something else to play for," he said. "That's what this team is all about. It's really a brotherhood, so it's really difficult to see one of your brothers go down. But look, if we need any extra motivation for this tournament, we got it now." And uh, this whole situation, of course, made it such that Team Canada didn't necessarily need Alphonso Davies, which gives them more time to rest up for when the team might indeed need him eventually. But yeah, that was an absolutely fantastic match, and it made history in several ways. Uh, Number one, the first World Cup win for Canadian men's national team in a World Cup tournament, men's World Cup tournament, of course. Canada became the first team from outside of Europe and South America to score 5 or more goals in a single men's World Cup game. The 6-0 result stands as the largest margin of victory by a CONCACAF nation at the men's FIFA World Cup. That's the region that Team Canada plays in to qualify for the World Cup. And then, in those 6 goals, forward Jonathan David recorded Canada's first ever brace and first ever hat trick at a men's World Cup. So that is pretty significant. And a brace is when a single player scores 2 goals in the same match, and he scored them consecutively. So we had Kyle Laren in the first match, and then Kyle Laren opens up the second match, and then we had Jonathan David, and then we had Jonathan David again. And then we had Sadiba with his goal in honor, pretty much, of Kome. And then, if the match wasn't wild enough, then there was an own goal by the Qataris as a Canadian, I believe it was I'm thinking Schellenberg off the top of my head, but I could be wrong on on his name. Um, Delivered a screamer of a kick. Schaffelberg, sorry, delivered a screamer of a kick, and I believe Saliba um, Sorry, that's the wrong goal again. Sorry, I'm mixing up the goals. That's the last goal by Jonathan David. It was a screamer of a kick that we're not sure had it would have gone in the net or not. But the Qatari player took a big kick at it to try to deflect it away and ended up bouncing on the wrong side of his leg and going straight into the goal for the fifth one. And then in extra time with 2 minutes left, Jonathan David completed the hat trick when Saliba, it was, not Schaffelberg, made a really screaming kick that David just stopped just before the net and then redirected it into it for a 6-0 win. Other ways that this match made history. Jonathan David, with his hat trick, became the only second player from the CONCACAF region to score World Cup hat trick and the first to do it since 1930. And David also became the first player for a World Cup host nation to score a hat trick on home soil since England's Geoff Hurst did it in 1966. Just amazing. And then there was just the attacking dominance. Canada recorded a staggering 97 touches in the attacking box, 26 more than any team has managed in a World Cup match on record since 1966. Canada had possession of the ball 79% of the time. Qatar had only 2 shots somewhere on recorded shots, and none of them were directly on target. So Maxime Crépeau had a very easy night, whereas Team Canada uh, just peppered uh, the Qatari goaltenders with shots. I think there was over 20 shots and something like 15 of them on target or ridiculous like that. Um, I'd have to look at more data. They don't have that data on the thing that I'm looking at. I just remember the graphic that they showed at the end of the match. Oh, wait a minute. Here I see it. Total shots 32 for Team Canada versus 2. That's just incredible there. So it was a dominant victory. And the best part of it, and this might be the part that was a little unexpected because of the lopsidedness of the victory as Canada goes in to its final match of pool play against Switzerland, and that will take place on the 23rd. This happened, kits and cups. This also maybe a little bit of history because not only the first time that Canada scored a hat trick or won a game on Canadian soil, but also now the first time that Team Canada is on top of a group in first place in World Cup soccer history. Look at this good stuff here. Tied with Switzerland with 4 points, but goal differential that is double that of Switzerland. So technically, Canada only needs to tie Switzerland in their match in order to finish atop of the pool and have the most favorable draw it could have going in to the knockout stages. And that's something that maybe was hoping a little more than, or maybe dreaming a little big. But why not now, given that it's in reach? This is very, 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 very exciting. Yeah, indeed, Kitlinda started feeling a little bad for the Qatari goalkeeper. Yeah, yeah. it's it was not not a good day at the office. Let's just put it that way, especially when your team lets you down by getting 2 red cards, in the first, um, what was it, 50 something minutes? That, um, uh, there might be part of me that was like, "Guys, what are you doing to me, man?" And, probably as a result, unless Qatar has a victory over Bosnia and Herzegovina, Qatar might have eliminated itself from a further competition with that match. They would need an outright win to be able to move on. So yeah, Kits and Cubs, an absolutely fantastic uh, day on the pitch for Team Canada, and of course, the Prime Minister was there, and commenting to my Beaver sweetie that given the Prime Minister's tenure in England as the governor of the Bank of Canada, um, there's probably some good chance that our Prime Minister was the best Prime Minister suited to actually be at that type of event, probably understands the game and probably has a bit of a personal passion for the game. You can see him and Diana Fox Carney just having a wonderful time cheering on Team Canada, which was, of course, very nice to see. But in addition, there was a moment uh, afterwards, I guess, where the prime minister went into the locker room and addressed the team after the match. And listening to him, it's almost like uh, he could be a coach as well, which is very interesting. So the Canadian men's national team uh, caught this, and I think I'm going to show it to you here because it's um it's well worth your time. Just seeing here if I can bring it up. Oops. Yeah, I'm going to have to do something here because I need to bring it to this window here. And for some reason, that is very interesting that from window to window, I need to relog in rather than it just simply opening. But hey, that's no problem because we can do that. And just give me a second here to put it together. All right. It is being a little ornery today, not recognizing the password. Let's see what's going on here. I'll try that one more time. There we go. So this is the Prime Minister of Canada in the locker room afterwards, delivering a speech. Well, not a speech, I should say, delivering words of support and words of praise for the team after that exceptionally good performance. So let's bring this up to you now that they've made me log into that all over again from scratch. And there we go.
Let me just begin by acknowledging what you're all feeling, I think, and the nation's feeling. The terrible injury of Ishmael, the blessure terrible, Monsieur Kone. And it's in moments like that that you see character, the real team. He applauds the fans coming off. He shakes the hands of the Qataris coming off. Saliba comes on, steps up, scores. You hold up his jersey and you celebrate around that. You keep your cool, you show the nation. Like, you didn't just break the CONCACAF record and a bunch of records and 32 attempts on goal, 10 hit the goal, 19 corners, 1 corner, dominate, 70+ percentage. Like, just show that level. But you showed a level of character that some people never achieve in their life. And you showed it when the entire country and a good part of the world is watching. And if they didn't watch, they will have watched by tomorrow. They'll watch the highlights by tomorrow. I'll just say, I couldn't be prouder as a Canadian, and on behalf of all Canadians, I want to thank you for everything you put in to get here. You represent the nation, represent your families, your friends, and teach a lesson. I'll say one other thing, if I may. A couple of weeks ago, Adam and I, Adam Van Couverden, the Minister of Sport, our FIFA Sherpa, we're in Brampton, Ontario. Some of you know it well, right? Our first 2 goals scored by Kyle out of Brampton, right? Osario out of Brampton. I can go on. We went to Brampton because of your example and because we're building a new sports complex. And to be honest, we're not building a new sports complex for this level. It's Brampton, so a couple people rise to this level, but we're building it for thousands and thousands of kids, girls, boys, to play football, to aspire to be like you. And the one thing I hope they take is a lesson you showed today in the response. Couldn't be prouder. Thank you for letting me in and just share a bit of that moment. And guys, go all the way. Let me just begin.
Wow. Now that's how you do it. That's how you do it. So yeah, I think those are the words right there, right? And again, let's not forget that our Minister of Sport, Adam Van Couverden, who was there, who you saw in the background, to whom the Prime Minister referred, is an Olympic gold medalist in his own right. Right? This is someone that understands the power of what it takes to compete at that level. In fact, he's a 4-time Olympic medalist. 1 gold, 2 silver, 1 bronze over his career. Gold in the K1500 in Athens, 2004, bronze in the K1000 in Athens, and silver in the K1500 in Beijing, 2008, and then silver in the K1000, 2012. And that's to go along with his 8 World Championship medals, 2 gold, 3 silver, 3 bronze. That means something, right? When you're in the room. So just a beautiful moment, an absolutely gorgeous moment. There's a lot to be happy for. Hopefully, Mr. Kone makes a full recovery. Eventually, clearly, his World Cup is over in terms of a competitor, but I have a feeling that we may be seeing him on the bench at some point again before this tournament is over, offering his moral support for sure, and being a team leader in whatever way that he can be, keeping on that contribution. But yeah, Kits and Cubs, it looks like that we are we're off to the knockout round, and if we can get at least a draw, but let's go for the win, of course, against Switzerland, atop of the pool, which sets us up well to get past the first round at least. and maybe even the second round. There's a real opportunity here for Team Canada to perhaps end up in the final eight. That would be something. And then once you make the final eight, I mean, it's just at some point it becomes an any given Sunday type of thing, right? So, could Team Canada actually win it all on home soil if they play with the vigor, the zip, the passion, uh, and especially if they have the motivation? You never know. You never know. Kid Bucky chugging here. They cut off that clip just before he pulled off his shirt and, and chugged a moose head. Gets Sassy going. Carney must have been a coach before. Really, right? That definitely is coach talk. But when you think about it, also coming from the prime minister of your nation, turning round, and a man who is somewhat known for keeping his composure and his cool, as we've seen in his dealings with Donald Trump during the big game in his own field, right? When the cards are down. Um, I can see why that type of response from Team Canada and that display of maturity would have resonated with him. Keep your eye on the prize. Um, keep keep working at the job, because at the point where Team Qatar had two people pulled off with a red card, the door was wide open for Team Canada to finish atop of the pool. Right? It was almost certain that it would be a victory. The only question was by how much. And since Switzerland had picked up a 3-goal lead over Bosnia and Herzegovina, they knew that they needed at least 3 to be tied, and 4 to take the lead. Well, they went and got 6. Just built in a little extra padding there just in case. And that's the way you do it. That's the way you go out to do it. When the door opens and you're handed an opportunity, you don't take your foot off the gas. You focus even more, and you get the job done. And you put all the odds on your side. So Team Canada going into its match with Switzerland with a lot of momentum at the moment, despite the injury to Mr. Kone. So there is a lot to cheer for. And I do agree, Linda here. I don't think we honestly have a chance to beat teams like Argentina or England or France, but we're getting better and we've proven ourselves. That is true. Statistically, the odds are not there, right? But nobody expected Qatar to completely implode, especially after it got a 1-1 draw against Switzerland. Its chances all of a sudden had become much more real as well. When Qatar hosted last time, they didn't make the knockout round. They're one of only 2 teams in history not to do that. South Africa was the other one when they hosted, I believe, in 2010. So Qatar had a real chance of moving up, especially with the expanded format. And that just imploded right out from under them by the manner in which they played. So that's what I mean. When you have an opportunity, both teams had a big opportunity that day, and one team imploded and cracked under the pressure, and the other team kept its cool and ended up in a position it did not, it could have only dreamed of being in when the tournament started. So, like you say, Kit Linda, we've already exceeded ourselves, and what happens from here on is gravy. And I agree. But sometimes when you're in that mode where everything that happens next is gravy, sometimes you keep on making your own gravy. things have a way of happening sometimes, right? The year that Bianca Andreescu won the U.S. Open, nobody was expecting that, especially with all those great players. But she did. You just never know. That's why you play the game. So, yes, while it may be dreaming a little bit in Technicolor to think that Team Canada could go all the way, agreed. Why not hope? Because with that performance, we are now entitled to hope a little bit, to have slightly unrealistic dreams. Why not? I'm all for dreaming big. I'm all for dreaming big, and then going for it, even if the odds are almost zero. Just dream big and go for it. And sometimes doesn't happen often, but sometimes it works out for you. So yay, Team Canada. Well, listen to me talking about soccer like I've been playing it all my life or been following it all my life. Again, total bandwagoner. Total bandwagoner here. But more than bandwagoner. Um, very big fan of everything Team Canada does, as you know, a big champion of our athletes as ambassadors. And on that front, um, y- you cannot have a better moment to show the world what your country is all about and a better opportunity. And this team uh, seized that opportunity and shouted it from the rooftops. Let the world know who we are. And that is something I can really respect. And I'm glad that the Prime Minister had the opportunity to go in there and give them that extra boost. Because as we keep on saying on the show, the Prime Minister's most valuable asset is his time. And that he took the time to do that is incredibly meaningful. So go, Canada, go. Go, Canada, go. Go, Canada, go. And that is the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Sports Show. It's now back to our regular programming. Kit Linda, we should definitely wear the black uniforms against Switzerland for luck. Ah, okay. Okay. Love it. Love it. Okay. Um, Now on to more frivolous pursuits. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. And less joyous ones. Unfortunately, kits and cubs, uh, as yesterday we talked about Danielle Smith and her relationship with the Indigenous community. And Danielle Smith pretty much um, fallen apart when um, the chiefs of Treaty Number 6, 7, 8, and the Blackfoot Confederacy uh, publicly called for the RCMP to investigate her and her party for potential treason. And it's disgraceful. We can't just be lobbing those accusations around, even though Daniel Smith has had some extremely curious behavior over the past while that nobody can quite seem to logically explain, other than, um, well, her first loyalty is to herself. But another explanation could be that her first loyalty might be um, to perhaps a nation that is not her own. Some people are wondering. Um, a lot of that behavior seems to fit in with that pattern. So, if anything, sometimes subversion, treason, sedition, those are very loaded words, but disloyal is something um, that definitely seems like it could apply. At best, disloyal. At worst, outright treasonous. But deceitful, duplicitous, and treacherous is definitely part of the vocabulary that definitely applies to her. And of course, we saw her right hand man, Rob Anderson, then going on and saying that it's un Albertan, undemocratic, un Canadian, and all that kind of stuff. Because allegedly, um, taking this type of position with regard to Indigenous communities, Indigenous peoples, uh, isn't less so. And then we had Spanky McAllister come in and make some comments that were pretty much just gross for all intents and purposes. I mean, there's no other way to describe them but gross. When I read Rob Anderson's comments, what a dangerous and irresponsible letter by treaty chiefs asking the RCMP to investigate and charge a premier with treason because you disagree with their policy to hold a referendum in this case is a dark path that we see in third world banana republics. It is wrong, it is un-Albertan, and it is un-Canadian, period. Because period and full stop is something that these people like to say in order to sort of, there's no need to add anything else. I hold the truth on this. There's no conversation to be had. Well, we call BS on that, bovine fecal matter, because also dangerous, irresponsible, evocative of third world banana republic, un-Albertan, and un-Canadian is threatening to arrest chiefs under the colonialist Critical Infrastructure Defense Act for standing up for inherent Indigenous rights, which your boss has done, Mr. Anderson. All the provocations and escalations have come from her. And this rings especially true after your government gave the folks from Coots, or the folks at Coots, I should say, rather than from Coots, a free pass, right? You weren't worried so much about critical infrastructure defense then. Now, were you? It almost seems like that Critical Infrastructure Defense Act was specifically passed in 2020 for the express purpose of being able to arrest Indigenous people. Or environmentalists, right? That's who was targeted by that because when Coots happened, nobody invoked that act then. So, yeah, Mr. McAllister had some interesting things to say. Again, that certainly won't be to his credit because the internet is forever. But according to Lisa Johnson of the Canadian Press, the executive director of Premier Danielle Smith's office says that instead of criticizing her, First Nation chiefs should fix their own communities, describing them as entrenched in poverty, drugs, and violence. Bruce McAllister, in a post on social media Thursday, says the chiefs should focus on their own problems rather than having the gall to accuse the premier of treason over Alberta's looming separation referendum. Mm, yes. Uh, his words specifically, and I apologize for having to read them. This is such a bad look from these chiefs People are sick and tired of hearing unrealistic demands from them. It might be tolerable if their communities were beacons of prosperity, safety, strong families, and real accountability, but sadly, they're anything but. And why, if that is your impression, why would that be, Mr. McAllister? What could have possibly happened in Canadian history to make it such that these communities that you are clearly looking down upon might be, in your opinion, not beacons of prosperity, safety, strong families, or real accountability? What may have been at the source of that, and what and may be at the source of the fact that that situation persists today, sir? Because you're almost there. On too many Alberta First Nations, their own people face devastating addiction and overdose crises tearing families apart. And what are you doing to help with that, sir? Given you are a government. Kids removed into care at shocking rates. And what are you doing about that, sir? Given that the party you are shilling for is the government. Entrenched poverty, high unemployment, and welfare traps. And what are you doing about that, sir? Housing issues for their people. And what are you doing about that, sir? Lagging education outcomes, limiting the great promise of their youth in a province that is the province that offers the lowest funding for education in all of the country for everyday citizens. So imagine what they have in store, what they have set aside for Indigenous citizens. And what is your government doing about that, sir? Elevated domestic violence and other family related troubles. And what is your government doing about that? It is heartbreaking, and I truly mean that. I don't think you do, sir, because if you did, you would not be writing this. And if you did write it, you certainly would not have had the temerity to click publish after you had. Shouldn't the priority be fixing these failures for their people? Yes, yes. And what are you doing to help them? Do you not think they have these priorities? What are the reasons do you think that they keep on asking for meetings with you? To not fix these priorities? To not make this a priority? To not fix these alleged failures? I know we have a premier in government that care deeply about these serious issues and want to help fix them. No, you don't. You don't know that. You don't know that because you do not have a premier in government that do. We read an editorial by Brandi Morin yesterday uh, that makes it very clear that you do not. And we have another one for you today, by the way. And how about addressing band governance and finances? Uh, this is rich coming from the UCP, which is currently under RCMP investigation. And can seem to balance a budget despite oil. Why not focus on partnering with Alberta on energy, jobs, treatment programs, schools, and housing? You think they don't want to? Not this childish nonsense. The gall to call a sitting premier treasonous. But she's walking, quacking, and swimming like a duck. Treasonous duck. I believe. Got that from Laura Babcock. All because you disagree with the policy. No, not just because they disagree with the policy. It's not only the policy they disagree with, sir. That's diminishing. That's a oversimplification and hyper reduction. And it's a policy that gives a say to the people. Yeah, while ignoring the say of others. While going out of its way, while renting a guide and a backpack for a 3-day trek in the woods to find ways to ignore the say of some of the people that would be the most affected. It is the very thing they claim to stand for. Makes you wonder who these guys are taking their orders from. Now that's rich, considering who you take your orders from. It surely isn't their own people. How do you know that? You have so little care and interest in what their own people think. How would you know that, sir? I'll probably take heat for saying things like this. You should. And the fact that you know it should have given you the judgment and the discernment to maybe check yourself. As someone you are very intimately familiar would caution and advise before clicking publish, but you did not do that, did you? Because you are so heartbroken and you really mean it. I'll probably take heat for saying these things, but if we don't, we continue to bury our heads in the sand and pretend they aren't happening. Oh, talking about your head buried in the sand. Everything that happened in history to these people you are punching down on before the place on the clock where you have decided history starts to make this disgusting comment work for you. Tough and respectful conversations can bring about change. That is my hope. You guys don't do well with tough and respectful conversations. Your premier had one with Wab Canoe at the Western Premier's meeting, and then she went to the press and right in front of him with him at the table tried to gaslight the whole nation into believing that there was some confusion or lack of clarity about what duty to consult means and where it applies. Tough and respectful conversations can bring about change. That is my hope. Yeah, what kind of change are you hoping for, though? Right? That's the question. Because it seems to me, based on this, that the type of change that you're hoping for is for them just to just shut up and go away. I'm sorry, sir. That's not going to happen. Wow. That is literally every single trope, tired, well worn, overused trope that one can use against Indigenous people to make them look bad, to turn people of the province against them. He used in that statement. Smith's office did not immediately respond to a request for comment, and Many Heads, CEO for the Treaty 7 First Nations Chiefs Association, said in an email that the Stoney Nakoda and Tsuut'ina Nation chiefs reserved comments when asked to report on McAllister's tweet. She said the chiefs support their earlier statement calling for Smith to be called to account for treason. It's not the first time accusations of treason have been thrown around in the separation debate. In January, BC Premier David Eby said a meeting between an Alberta separatist group and the U.S. administration amounted to treason. But you didn't see Spanky McAllister talking about the province of British Columbia in the way that he talks about First Nations communities in response now, did you? Gee, I wonder the difference. What is the difference between David Eby and both British Columbians and Indigenous people? What could potentially be the difference that would result in this type of different treatment? Oh, it's white on the tip of my tongue. Now, according to the criminal code, treason is narrowly defined. It includes sharing sensitive information, quote, for a purpose prejudicial to the safety or defense of Canada with another state, or the use of force or violence in order to overthrow a Canadian government. Smith's United Conservative Government and the Chiefs have been at odds in the separation debate, with First Nations winning a recent court decision to quash a separatist petition because the government neglected its duty to consult them. Now, because treason is so narrowly defined, that's probably the most literalist definition of that word, according to the law is probably what they are wrapping themselves up in. There they care about the definition, the very precise definition of things. We haven't done that. We're not treasonous. But when it comes to reading a separation, when it comes to reading a petition application form, suddenly you guys are not that literal anymore. Literalism of convenience. McAllister has been the focus of controversy before. Last fall, McAllister, while moderating a public meeting, urged a teen be spanked for demanding answers on a looming teacher's strike. McAllister later apologized. Clearly, he did not mean it. Because when you apologize for behavior like that, you check yourself and take steps to not repeat similarly offending behavior. While clearly McAllister is not capable of that when it comes to Indigenous people. Again, I wonder what that might be. It looks like Spanky McAllister needs to fix himself. By the way, his salary is $184,000 a year. This is what he gets paid for. Brandi Morin wrote on June 18th, check yourself, Smith. On Wednesday afternoon, Premier Danielle Smith stood at a press conference and was asked about the Assembly of Treaty Chiefs, Treaty 6, 7, and 8, united, calling for an RCMP and Auditor General investigation into her and the UCP for potential treason under Section 46 of the Criminal Code of Canada. Her answer, the chiefs need to, quote, check themselves, that this kind of language is, quote, disgraceful and has no place in democracy. Okay, Premier, let's talk about disgraceful. I've spent years reporting on Fort Chippewan, a community 250 kilometers downstream from the oil sands where Mikisew Cree First Nations' own study found 149 cancer cases between 1993 and 2022, where cancer rates run at least 25% above the provincial average, where Chief Billy Joe Tucaro estimates cancer has touched 6 out of every 10 households, children with rare cancers, while you keep pushing pipeline deals south of the border and west to the coast, carrying oil out of Treaty 8 territory, prioritizing industry and economic prosperity, dressed up by Ottawa as, quote, the national interest. I'm an award-winning Indigenous journalist who has reported on this crisis for outlets around the world. I sent your government 13 direct questions about it. They were silent. That is disgraceful. Disgraceful is ignoring 2 courts. In December, Justice Feasby ruled that turning provincial borders into international ones would violate the numbered treaties and called First Nations founding partners in Alberta's creation. In May, Justice Leonard ruled your government already breached its duty to consult First Nations on this referendum. You called that anti-democratic. You're appealing it, and you're running the referendum anyway this October in defiance of both rulings. That is disgraceful. Disgraceful is standing up today and implying you've been collaborative, that your government and ministers have reached out. I've spoken to several of the chiefs behind this resolution. They have told me directly that they haven't heard from you in weeks, months. Nothing on this entire mess you've created with separatism. So when you say there's a collaborative relationship, that's false. And telling the public something false in a press conference is disgraceful. It seems also that the relationship is only collaborative when she needs something from them, but not when they need anything from the government. When they need something from the government, they get Spanky McAllister. Disgraceful is threatening to arrest chiefs for defending rights your own courts have upheld. You stood at a podium and pointed straight at the Critical Infrastructure Defense Act, a law built to crush Indigenous-led blockades, and said you'd enforce it. Up to $25,000 a day and 6 months in jail against people protecting treaty rights 2 separate judges have already told you are real. That is disgraceful. Disgraceful is what you've done to the relationship with the sovereign First Nations of this province. It is broken, not strained, broken. Treaty 8 Grand Chief Trevor McCurdy already told you dismissing this as, quote, overwrought doesn't answer the constitutional questions you've been asked. Treaty 6 Grand Chief Joey Pete told you flat out that you and your government need to remember who you work for. So let's call a spade, Danielle Smith. This is what's actually going on here. The chiefs see it. We all see it. I watch this closely and I'm telling you the truth. You are the one who needs to check yourself. There is a war happening in this province right now, and you helped light the fuse. A war with the sovereign treaty nations of Alberta, the same nations whose treaties predate this province by decades, the same nations the RCMP's own predecessor swore to protect. So buckle up, Smith. The fight you started isn't ending with a press conference. Mm, mm, mm. That's how you do it. And then she went on to say, while citing Bruce McAllister's incredibly offensive tweet, "Oh, Bruce, Premier Smith's own chief of staff wants to talk about why First Nations communities face addiction, poverty, and kids in care without once mentioning residential schools, stolen land, broken treaties, or the billions extracted from treaty territory that provincial and federal governments never shared with the people it belonged to. You're pointing at the wounds of 150 years of colonization like First Nations did this to themselves. What's wild is you're advising the premier. This is the thinking inside that office. The chiefs haven't heard from Smith in months. Your government isn't calling them. It isn't partnering with them. It's ignoring them, steamrolling their rights, and then acting shocked when they fight back. Bold strategy. Ignore them for months, then lecture them on priorities." You can't say it better. You can't say it better. She also, because if you want to know the type of people that we're dealing with here, she posted some of the messages that she receives. I'm not going to soften them or summarize them completely. I want you to read them the way I read them in my inbox on my phone between filing deadlines after midnight before coffee. I want you to feel the weight of them because I've been carrying that weight for years. Quote, "Get your head out of your ass, you dumbass bitch." Pardon for the language. "I'm going to make sure that you are destroyed in your career. One of the white men friends is going to smash your fucking typing fingers into shards of bone." This is what covering Indigenous issues in Canada looks like from the inside. I've written about this before a few years ago when I was writing op-eds regularly for the Toronto Star. I was under heavy attack. It slowed when I stepped away from Twitter. I told myself it was manageable. I found some quiet. Then I came back to, she writes X. I refuse to use that word. Twitter. Back to the front lines of a new storm because I started my Substack and I wanted to reach people. And the moment I did, it came roaring back, louder and uglier, more emboldened than before. This time, it isn't just X, it's Facebook, it's email. People hunt down my address and use it. It's the comment sections of my own posts where I can have hundreds, sometimes thousands of replies while I'm covering a story, and the hatred moves so fast I can't keep up with it. I try to flag the worst of it, I can't, and it keeps coming. What changed? Alberta. My home province is fracturing. The separatist movement is growing louder, and First Nations are at the forefront of the fight against it, asserting their treaty rights, their sovereignty, their presence on this land. I have been covering those stories. And the people who don't want those stories told, who don't want to hear about treaty history, about Indigenous rights, about the truth of what this land is and always has been, they are seething. That's the only word for it. Seething. It still blows my mind. We are treaty partners. Their ancestors got everything they have, this land, these resources, this country, through agreements our people entered into in good faith, and they squandered every part of that bargain. They still benefit from it every single day, whether they acknowledge it or not, and yet the disrespect, the ignorance, the sheer audacity of people who owe their wealth and their homes and their lives here to treaties they never honored, it's staggering. You'd think respect would be the baseline. Instead, it's contempt. Most non Indigenous Canadians were never taught the real history of the treaties. That's not an accident. It's convenient for a colonial state, for a capitalist state, to keep people ignorant of what was promised and what was taken. And now that Indigenous peoples are standing up and asserting what was always theirs, the rage has to go somewhere. It comes to me. It comes to journalists like me. It comes in the middle of the night. I believe these people are also feeling emboldened by something bigger, by the rhetoric of those in power who have made cruelty feel acceptable, who have made racism feel like plain speaking. Most of them hide behind fake accounts. I don't think they would say these things to my face, but that almost makes it worse because what it tells me is that this is what was always there, simmering quietly, and now it has permission to boil over. And then there are people like Spanky McAllister who just do it right out there in the open. Here's what it costs. This is not a job for me. It has never been a job. This is a calling. This is purpose. I bleed alongside the people whose stories I carry. I have stood in fields where children's remains were found. I have sat with survivors of violence that would break most people. Sometimes when I'm on the road, I wake up at 3 a.m. unable to breathe, heart pounding out of my chest, nightmares chasing me across time zones. And I open my phone to file my story, and the messages would be there waiting. I breathe everything into this work. And then I come home and open my phone and someone has written, "You pro-Marxist fucking whore tool." There are days, and I'll be honest, lately there have been more of them, when I feel like I just want to sleep in the dark, when I don't know how to carry both, the weight of the stories and the weight of the hate, when I wonder if any of it penetrates, when I ask myself whether the people on the other side will ever be willing to hear the truth or whether they've simply decided not to, and nothing I will write will change that. Um, uh, Miss Morin, again, um, it penetrates here. And you are always welcome. If ever you accept our invitation, you are always welcome as a guest on our show. I've extended the invitation through online several times. I've not gotten a response yet, but hopefully one day we will. I feel exceptionally heavy right now. I have reported some of these threats to the RCMP, the ones that felt like more than words, the ones that described specific violence that felt like promises. I did what you're supposed to do. I reported them. Nothing happened. They told me they couldn't trace them. The late Senator Murray Sinclair, who led Canada's Truth and Reconciliation Commission, once said, quote, "The road we travel is equal in importance to the destination we seek. There are no shortcuts. When it comes to truth and reconciliation, we are forced to go the distance." The process is as important as the end result. It ain't just what you do, it's the way that you do it. It's not just the goal, it's how you go about achieving it. I think that often there is no shortcut through this, not around the threats, not around the silence from the people meant to protect me, not around the exhaustion. The road itself, every ugly mile of it, is part of what truth and reconciliation actually costs in this country. Sinclair knew that better than almost anyone. I'm only living a small piece of what he meant. And I'm saying all of this publicly because people need to know, not for sympathy, but because this is the real cost of this work. But it shouldn't be, and it shouldn't be invisible. I'm still here. I keep going because of the people, because of the injustices I've witnessed over years of being on the ground, things I cannot unsee, cannot unknow, cannot in good conscience keep silent about, because not a lot of people are really doing this work, and I'm honored to do it. It is a privilege to carry these stories, to be trusted with them, to give them to the world, because of the prayers of my ancestors, of survivors who endured things I can barely imagine and still held hope, who hoped for a day when their grandchildren would no longer have to fight to be seen as human. That day is not here yet, but I do this for it. I want to be clear, I am down right now, but I am not out. You do not get to take this from me. This fire was lit long before you found my inbox, and it will be burning long after you've moved on to your next target. I come from people who survived things that were meant to destroy them. A comment section is not going to be what breaks me. To the people sending these messages, I'm a human being. Blood runs through my veins the same as yours. I have a family. I have fears. I have nights when your words sit heavy on my chest, and I have to decide again whether to keep going. I keep going. But what you are doing is not strength. It's not even anger, really. It's fear. It's the fear of people who sense that the truth is coming and cannot stop it. Hide behind your fake accounts and your anonymous emails all you want. The truth doesn't need your permission. To Canadians who didn't know this was happening, now you do. We are supposed to be better than this. We are supposed to be the country that chooses a different path, truth, reconciliation, the hard work of coming together. Instead, we are coming undone, pulled in every direction, headed somewhere dark. We can do better. We have to. Because at the end of the day, whatever we are, indigenous, settler, whatever nation or blood or story we come from, we are human beings, and the least we can do for each other is that. The very least. Damn, I love the way she writes. And I'm not going to read them all because, um, well, one, I'm going to have to put a check mark when I put this up, talking about the level of language, but it deserved to be stated here. But if you look here in the text, she's incorporated a lot of what she receives. And I really encourage you, I'm going to include the link, to go there and read it for yourself. Because it's chilling. It's chilling. And everybody's subject to this, but for some reason, again, gee, I wonder why. Women are exposed to it a lot. And it doesn't matter, it doesn't have to be because they are standing for Indigenous issues. Right? Laura Babcock, whose show I'm on, I have the good fortune to be on at least once a month because she thinks that what I do has some value. And I very much respect her. I noticed certain things that are said about her. And she recently posted something that goes a little something like this. Wasn't long, just a quick, brief statement. But something that matters. And she wrote, two of my media pals commented to me today. I'm one, by the way, about all the hate they see me getting online. I told them that as a woman who's standing up against corruption and fascism, it's hardly par for the course. No one is safe for being silent. We must all raise our voices to fight for democracy. And as a Brandi Morin is trying to teach us, we all must raise our voices to fight for decency, to fight for, when we're talking about history, for the whole story to be told, not some sanitized, aseptic version not a version that conveniently starts the time clock of history in a way that makes the side doing ugly things, and these things are ugly, look as good and pure and clean as possible. The full story. And it's not like you have to take their noses and rub them in it, because that's not the objective. It's just speaking truth and owning it. Like in a past uh, moment that I talked about a few days ago, I think it is, that um, it's neither some of these things. It's not about trying to convince Canadians that Canada is a evil country, an oppressive country. It's about recognizing that in the past, our ancestors and predecessors did things that were both good and bad, did things that benefited the nation, and did things that, when we look about it, knowing what we know now, we realize should have never been done. It's recognizing that maybe even back then they knew that those things shouldn't have been done, but they did them anyway and justified them however they could at the time. It's about owning it, being honest about it, and now that we know better, doing better. Bruce McAllister is not fit for the position he holds, and the taxpayers of Alberta should not be shelling out $184,000 of their hard-earned money to be paying him to do that. He should have been fired from his job after that comment. And he made to that kid calling for violence to be committed upon a child for daring to ask a question. Respectfully, that was just a little too inconvenient for Mr. McAllister or the Premier at the time. And especially for daring to ask it in public. Especially asking it in a public forum that was designed for the Premier to only hear what it is that she wanted to hear. He's being a little inconvenient. So therefore, it was warranted, in the eyes of Mr. McAllister, that in public he should say that violence should be committed upon this child. And I'm going to guess, even though I do not know the history of Mr. McAllister, because I did not know much about him before that moment, that that was probably not the first time he's made a comment that probably should have gotten his ass canned. Because people who do this usually don't just do it once or twice. It's usually a recurring pattern of behavior. It's abuser talk. It's abuser talk. This thing is going to get ugly. Way uglier than it already is before it's over. Wow. Unreal. And things not getting better for Danielle Smith. According to the Globe and Mail. And I'm reading this because if Danielle Smith got her nose in a snit for some First Nations chief saying that her and her government should be investigated for treason, this is going to make her just outright spit teeth according to Tom Cardoso and Kerry Tate of the Globe and Mail. A veteran Ontario-based prosecutor is now involved in the criminal probe of alleged procurement irregularities at Alberta's health authority. Tom Andriopoulos confirmed in an email that he is acting as a Crown Counsel in the case, though he declined to elaborate on his exact role. Throughout his career, Mr. Andriopoulos has prosecuted, now get this, bikers and mafiosos, and was involved in the criminal investigation that targeted former Toronto Mayor Rob Ford. Mr. Andriopoulos has been involved in responding to efforts by a consortium of news outlets, including the Globe and Mail, to unseal search warrant documents filed as part of the police investigation. He responded to inquiries from the consortium's lawyer. His assignment to the case is the first indication that outside legal help has been sought for the probe. The RCMP announced an investigation last year after Athana Metsalopoulos, the former chief executive of Alberta Health Services, who was fired by the government of Premier Danielle Smith, raised concerns about her agency's contracting processes and alleged ties between private businesses and senior Alberta government officials. The allegations leveled by Ms. Metsalopoulos have dodged Ms. Smith's government for almost a year and a half. The Globe revealed Wednesday that the police had served Alberta Health Services with document production orders. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Did you miss that? Because even though it was reported in the Globe and Mail, it would seem that did not make the big news. Certainly didn't make the big news before Danielle Smith went out to say that Indigenous chiefs should check themselves. Alberta Health Services has been ordered to hand over documents to law enforcement as the RCMP investigate allegations that it has mishandled procurement decisions to the benefit of private businesses, according to one of the agency's senior executives. Mircea Fagarasanu, a senior vice president at Alberta Health Services, last week confirmed his employer had received a production order according to a transcript of a legal proceeding filed in court on Monday. A production order is a judicial authorization that compels its recipient to provide authorities with records relevant to criminal investigations. To obtain a production order, police must convince a judge or justice of the peace that there are reasonable grounds to believe an offense has been committed. Again, there are reasonable grounds to believe an offense has committed, and clearly the judge agrees that there are reasonable grounds to believe an offense has been committed because the production order has been issued. The disclosure marks the first public confirmation that police investigators are directly probing Alberta Health Services, the province's public health agency, which has been at the center of a procurement controversy that has rocked Premier Danielle Smith's government. The RCMP have previously executed search warrants at business connected to their probe in the matter. Dr. Fagarasanu provided the information while being questioned by a lawyer for Alberta Health Services former chief executive Athana Metsalopoulos, who is suing the agency and the provincial government for wrongful dismissal. Quote, "We received the production order," Dr. Fagarasanu said on June 10 during a legal proceeding related to Ms. Metsalopoulos' lawsuit. He confirmed the production order was issued to Alberta Health Services, but said he did not know when. Sharon Roberts, a lawyer representing Ms. Metsalopoulos, had asked Dr. Fagarasanu whether he was aware that the agency had received, through the RCMP or legal counsel, production orders related to procurement or contracts for private surgical facilities. Quote, "Yes, I am aware," Dr. Fagarasanu said. Although he did not specify which police service had obtained the order, the RCMP are the only law enforcement agency known to be probing the procurement affair. Heather Jenkins, a spokeswoman for Alberta Justice Minister Mickey Amery, directed questions about Dr. Fagarasanu's statements to Munaf Mohammed, a lawyer who represents the government in Ms. Metsalopoulos' case. Quote, "My client does not have any comment at this time," Mr. Mohammed said in the statement. Gee, I wonder why. External lawyers for Alberta Health Services did not acknowledge request for comment. Holly Budd, a spokeswoman for the health agency, in a statement said, quote, "We are unable to comment while these matters are before the courts." The RCMP, in a statement, confirmed they have, quote, "an ongoing investigation associated with Alberta Health Services," but would not comment further. And by the way, you can comment while these matters are before the courts. It's just probably not in your best interest to do so. The Office of the Province's Auditor General has also said it is investigating allegations of improper procurement at Alberta's Health Ministry and Alberta Health Services. Ms. Roberts was questioning Dr. Fagarasanu on his 49-page affidavit filed in court June 4 in support of health agency's defense against Ms. Metsalopoulos' $1.7 million lawsuit. The former CEO, in documents filed in court, alleges the government fired her in early 2025 while she was investigating contracts tied to private businesses, including MH Care Medical Corp, owned by Sam Raish. MH Care in late 2022 landed a $70 million deal with Alberta Health Services to import children's medication from Turkey. Only 29% of the medication made it to Alberta, little of which the province used. About half was donated to other countries, and the remainder ended up in a landfill. Mr. Moraes, who is related to Mr. Amory and joined Miss Smith's inner circle in a hotel suite the night her party won the 2023 provincial election, is a part owner in two companies that were negotiating with the health agency to open private surgical facilities. Those talks were called off in late 2025 after nearly a year of scrutiny on Mr. Moraes' dealings with Alberta Health Services that followed Miss Metsalopoulos' firing. In March, the Mounties executed multiple search warrants related to their investigation, which we reported here. Police searched MH Care's headquarters in Edmonton and Jabberson and Associates, a tax preparation firm owned by Sam Jabber, who served as MH Care's chief financial officer. The RCMP also attended the home of Jitendra Prasad, Alberta Health Services' former procurement chief, who had an MH Care email address while working for the government agency. Yeah. Lawyers for Mr. Moraes and Mr. Jabber have repeatedly stated their clients did nothing wrong. Mr. Prasad's lawyer has not commented. None of the men are party to Miss Metsalopoulos' lawsuit. None of the allegations stemming from Miss Metsalopoulos' lawsuit have been tested in court. The government and Alberta Health Services argue they fired Miss Metsalopoulos for failing to execute the ruling United Conservative Party's healthcare strategy. Dr. Fagarasanu was the acting senior vice president for corporate and clinical support services at Alberta Health Services when he swore his affidavit. The document said he had, quote, personal knowledge of its contents except when noted otherwise, and that he, quote, reviewed Miss Metsalopoulos' affidavit of records and supplemental affidavit of records. Affidavits of records detail documents and other evidence lawyers intend to use in a court case. Miss Metsalopoulos' two affidavits of records are not public. In his court filing, Dr. Fagarasanu argued a large swath of documents in Miss Metsalopoulos' filing contain Alberta Health Services privileged and confidential information, which he said the former executive was not authorized to retain. He also stated Miss Metsalopoulos' records contained information that was confidential, albeit not privileged. Alberta Health Services asserts only 25 of the roughly 450 records Miss Metsalopoulos intends to use in her case contain information that is not confidential, Dr. Fagarasanu said in his affidavit. However, under questioning, Dr. Fagarasanu said he did not read all of Miss Metsalopoulos' records before signing off on his affidavit. I did not look. No, he said. It's based on the legal counsel's review. Dr. Fagarasanu also said he did not read another affidavit referenced in his own sworn document. I believe the information to be true when it comes from the source of the legal counsel. You should always check for yourself, sir. Dr. Fagarasanu did not acknowledge a request for comment. Back to the main story. Provincial justice departments sometimes appoint prosecutors from other provinces when dealing with politically sensitive cases or those in which a potential conflict of interest may arise. For instance, Ontario's Ministry of the Attorney General hired British Columbia defense lawyer Richard Peck in 2009 as a special prosecutor in the case against Michael Bryant, a former Ontario Attorney General. Mr. Bryant was charged in the death of cyclist Darcy Allen Shepherd, though Mr. Peck withdrew all charges in 2010, stating there was no reasonable prospect of a conviction. You know what this reminds me of? Remember in the United States when they brought in not Robert Mueller, but the other guy, the special prosecutor. Oh, what's his name? Jack Smith. Jack Smith had a background of dealing with cases, dealing with prosecuting political corruption and election-related crimes. Yeah. He was tasked with investigating and prosecuting war crimes in the Kosovo War. And they brought somebody with that type of experience in order to investigate. Mr. Andriopoulos has spent most of his career with the Federal Public Prosecution Service of Canada. According to his LinkedIn profile, he has prosecuted cases involving the Hells Angels, drugs conspiracy, and criminal organizations, and has also worked on politically sensitive prosecutions. In 2018, he obtained a guilty plea in a case against Domenico Violi, an underboss for Buffalo mafioso family. He has also served as a Crown Attorney in 2013 for court proceedings surrounding Project Brazen 2, the investigation of then Toronto Mayor Rob Ford. In late 2025, he joined Ontario's Ministry of the Attorney General as a Crown Counsel under the ministry's Complex Prosecutions Bureau. The RCMP confirmed they were investigating alleged procurement irregularities at Alberta Health Services in March 2025. Wow. So, yeah, that's how dirty what's going on there must be. So, while this was announced, this guy, um, well, not while it was announced, this was published yesterday. Spanky McAllister came out and wanted to criticize Indigenous communities for somehow being corrupt and unable to manage their own affairs. Gee, I wonder why. Looks like somebody needed a little deflection. Um, ick, right? You get that feeling? Ick. Finally, and we'll be going a little bit over time, but that's okay. The Conservatives over the past 2 weeks have been literally beside themselves with the way Parliament has been operating, accusing the government of ramming things through and time allocation and all that kind of stuff. All these terrible, undemocratic practices. Oh my God, how could you ever? In fact, Toronto Star on the 16th had an article, Conservatives cry foul after government signals move to speed up lawful access bill. Jim Bronskill, the Canadian Press. The Conservatives are accusing the federal government of trying to ram through a bill to help police and spies after the Liberals warned they would take steps to speed up committee scrutiny of the legislation. Oh my God, can't believe they're doing this. Oh. Well, kits and cubs. And then, of course, they were out there criticizing the Prime Minister for not being in question period as often as he could. Now, they started doing this on a day where the Prime Minister was at the G7. This is the 100th day he hasn't been in the House. Well, yeah, he's at the G7. Where else would you expect him to be? At least they didn't criticize him for being a hypocrite for taking a plane to get there. Because it's the job. But there have been a certain number of days, about 60 or so, where the Prime Minister apparently was in Ottawa, but did not come down to question period. There was a good discussion, lively discussion about that on At Issue, where, there was a case that could be made that a Prime Minister that is talking about respect for institutions should at least try to show up at the institution, the only one that we have. Right? Question period for him to be asked questions. But again, it's not like this Prime Minister is adverse to taking questions and giving long, thoughtful answers to them and actually answering the question. However, and it's not like the Conservatives are treating the House of Commons like it is a venerable institution where accountability to the Commons, us, takes place. It's more like a backdrop for marketing, for clips, and stuff of the like. But yeah, criticizing him for not being there enough for their liking, I guess, because the clips maybe just don't have the same ring or zip to them when the prime minister actually isn't there. It's not like the prime minister has been performing poorly when he is in the House of Commons, frequently getting the better. But um, with all of this uh, claiming and crying for the last 2 weeks about the prime minister and the Liberals just being so terrible in these last 2 weeks of sitting, you know what the Conservatives did? You know what pretty much everybody did yesterday? They voted unanimously on a motion for Parliament, the House, to rise one day early. The Liberals are ramming through these bills. We need more time to debate them. Oh my God, I can't believe it. You want to leave one day early? Yeah, sure. They are so indisciplined they couldn't even commit to the bit for the final day and blew up their entire argument. Now, at least the Conservatives didn't do the thing where we're going to vote for the Parliament to stay and sit longer. That's because that's usually what they do. We can't get all these bills done. If we need to stay here and work all summer, we do. And want to leave 3 days early? Yeah, sure. It's this usual dance the Conservatives do. But they invested a lot this time into it. All they had to do was sit for one more day and they would have the legitimate issue for the full summer. And they couldn't even do that because they knew what they're doing is bunk. But some stuff did get done, according to Peter Zemanic of CBC. Members of Parliament wrapped this spring's sitting of Parliament on Thursday and will not return to their seats in the House of Commons until the fall. Government House Leader Stephen McKinnon hailed the sitting as an achievement, celebrating 21 government bills passing the House of Commons in the 14 weeks it sat so far this year. Quote, the legislation covers a range of subjects, but two themes are obviously prominent: the economy and protecting Canadians from crime, McKinnon said in the foyer of the House of Commons. Quote, we have focused on these things because they are what matters to Canadians. Some of those 21 bills were passed earlier in the sitting, while others were pushed through on Thursday by unanimous consent. Not all of them are yet law. Some of them still require consideration by the Senate, and others are simply awaiting royal assent by Governor General Louise Arbour. These are some of the bills that were part of the end of sitting business on Thursday. Bill C-11. This legislation enshrines law that all sexual offenses involving military members must be handled exclusively by civilian courts and police rather than the military. The bill has now received royal assent. And I'm sure, given Justice Arbour's past role in investigating this, she was very, very happy to put her signature on. McKinnon said the amendment added by the Senate requiring the law to be reviewed in 3 years was agreed to in order to end a back and forth with the Senate and get the legislation passed. Bill C-22, the Liberal government's lawful access legislation, amends the criminal code, giving police more powers to gather a person's private digital information during an investigation. It was also passed at third reading. McKinnon said the Senate will take up its study of the bill as soon as Parliament returns on September 21st. Quote, we sent a very, very clear message that Canada's representatives are behind giving law enforcement what is the last lawful access regime to be enacted in the G7, he said. This is after 3 attempts to try to get this through, all of which have been obstructed or filibustered or blocked somehow by Conservatives. And they were claiming that this was going too fast. But hey, do you want to pass it quick so you can get one extra day off? Yep, sure. They were there. They were all worried about your privacy until they could get an extra day off. And then all of a sudden it didn't matter anymore. Bill S-227, the legislation designates April as Arab Heritage Month, noting the first people of Arab origin to arrive in Canada did so in 1882. The bill, which originated in the Senate, has now received royal assent. Ahmad Hussein, the former immigration minister, rose in the House and thanked all MPs for passing the legislation. Quote, this is a really important bill for the community and for Canada, he said. Bill C-30, the Spring Economic Update, outlined a number of new policies, including boosting support for training in the skilled trades and banning crypto ATMs, among other measures. C-30 was adopted at third reading in the House just before 2 p.m. Thursday and has now received royal assent. Bill C-27, the final self-government agreement for the Tlegohli Gotin government incorporated in the Northwest Territories, was also passed at third reading and has been sent to the Senate. That is going to be particularly celebrated there for National Indigenous Peoples Day. Self-government agreements are very important. Bill C-29, this legislation sets up a new financial crimes agency that is being designed to lead investigations into Canada's most intricate and costly financial crimes, operating under the oversight of a commissioner. The unanimous consent motion pushed the bill through second reading and into committee, where it will begin being studied by MPs when they return in the fall. Referencing the Liberal government's progress with Bill C-14, the Bail and Sentencing Reform Act, which received royal assent on Monday, along with Bill C-22, Bill C-27, and the government's child protection and gender-based violence legislation, Bill C-16, which has now received royal assent, McKinnon suggested the Conservatives are no longer the party of law and order. Quote, we now have a very real set of criminal justice reforms, bail, hate speech, victims' rights, and of course giving us the last lawful access regime in the G7, the House leader said. McKinnon said that in contrast, the Conservatives have found themselves divided internally on the Liberals' justice agenda, putting them on the wrong side of a number of criminal justice matters. Quote, in summary, it's been a very busy spring sitting, McKinnon said. I would like to thank all the MPs for the hard work they put in, and when we all return in the fall, well, once again, I assure you have a very busy legislative agenda. The Conservatives dismissed McKinnon's characterization of the last 6 months in Parliament, insisting that the Liberal government has not delivered for the Canadians who voted for them. While McKinnon, quote, actually went on to say that it seems that we are the law and order party, and the Conservatives have become the conspiracy theory tinfoil hat party. They seem to have abandoned that because every time we propose some law and order legislation, they try to obstruct it or vote against it. Canadians are worse off on almost every issue, Conservative Deputy Leader Melissa Landsman told reporters. Just look at the facts. Oh, girl, you are the wrong person to be talking about telling people to look at facts. We are the only country in the G7 and the G20 in a recession. No, we are not. That the Prime Minister got us into. Landsman said that youth unemployment in Canada remains high, as does the cost of housing, groceries, and planning for retirement. I do not know why you keep on mentioning it, because you guys have no intention about doing anything of it. You are the party that consistently votes against raising the minimum wage. You are the party that consistently votes against paying people what they are actually worth. You are the party that consistently still does not even vote for pay equity. You are the party that tried to raise the retirement age to 67. Come on. She also dismissed McKinnon's suggestion that the Liberals have properly addressed the law and order file. They voted against 5 bills that we've introduced to make our streets safer, Landsman said. I asked Canadians, do you feel safer than you did a year ago? And that answer is a resounding no. Well, yeah, the laws need time to come into effect and happen. Boo-boo kitty, they were just signed. And a lot of them were delayed because of your party's obstructionism. And it has become very clear that most of the laws that your party proposes as the motions that you propose are merely marketing, using the backdrop of Parliament to talk about them. Ensure they get voted down, and then run again to your cameras and talk about how mean the Liberals are, how uncaring they are, while you ask Canadians for their data and their money. Yet again. It would appear, kids and cubs, that not only did they vote to go early, but members of Parliament unanimously agreed to adjourn the spring sitting a day early to make swift last-minute progress on a handful of priority bills by avoiding recorded votes. They rapidly passed key legislation on non-recorded votes. The same people that were saying that they're not spending enough time and they're not giving us enough time to talk about it and debate it, because these are very, very important. These bills that conservatives were alleging are setting up the basis of a surveillance state and taking away your right to free speech, particularly if you're religious. They voted unanimously, everyone, right and left, to leave a day early if their votes were not recorded, so that you can't go back to Legislanfo and see which conservative voted for or against it. But then they're going to go run into their communities talking about all the ways that those terrible liberals made it such that these terrible bills went through and how hard they fought to stop it. They unanimously voted to leave a day early if their name was not associated with the vote. They talk to us like we're stupid. They treat us like we're stupid. They treat us like we would not check, like we would not know, like we do not read. And, as Tyler Watt did say, at least in his interview with Laura Babcock, I'm not sure if he said it on our show, that, people like him, like Laura, like me, we are very interesting. We're weird ducks. We're strange beasts. We like this politics stuff, and we want to know all about that. And most people are just more concerned by kitchen table issues and just trying to get by, and they don't have the time for this. I get that. I get that. But is that very reality of life that these populists, regardless on what side of the political spectrum, exploit to get people outraged, to manipulate them emotionally, to misinform them deliberately and intentionally. They're hoping, they're counting on them not checking, not knowing. And yes, some people are too busy to check. That's why there are people like me out there who do this type of thing, for whom this is a calling as well. They left early and didn't put their names next to their votes. And then they claim it's the liberals that disrespect Parliament, that have no respect for the House. They couldn't even commit to the bit that they had been working on for 2 weeks for one more day, just to finish it off with a bow. They completely blew up their own argument on the before last day, the penultimate day. And then they want you to believe that they're working for you, that they're defending you, they're defending your rights, that they are protecting you against some ominous, oppressive government. You had Pierre Poilievre claiming that they're going to be fighting to protect us, to defend us. Just it's just not serious. It is not serious in the least. Um, and claiming that you were going to be spending the summer not resting, but fighting. As you vote to leave the place where you could actually bring the fight and make the changes that you claim the people need. You vote to leave that place one day early. It would seem that the term fighting would be doing a lot of work in that quote, wouldn't it? Unfreaking believable. It's just, oh my word. These people, shameless. One other thing to mention with regard to conservatives, um, another conservative has decided that they are going to be stepping away from politics. Actually, I found the Polyev quote here. Liberals say, "We are at the end of a session, and I wish the leader of the opposition, his colleagues, and his family a restful summer." Conservatives, "We do not plan a restful summer. We plan all summer long to fight against the liberal recession." How exactly? When you vote for the House to rise one day early. By fight against, he means we're going to spend the summer whining and punching down. Because that's the only way that could happen. Listen, they're literally just phoning it in now. They really are. But there is another conservative who is leaving Pierre Polyev. Now, of course, they are not crossing the floor. They are actually just announced that they are going to be retiring from politics. I don't know if they have any ambitions to work at another level, like some people who have been leaving lately have. But this is Cathy Wagenthal, who is the MP for Yorkton Melville. Although my intent when I first announced my plans to step down as a member of Parliament for Yorkton Melville was to continue to represent the wonderful people of Yorkton Melville until the next federal election is called, I have decided to take my leave as of August 31st, 2026. So she's going to go back to her riding, and she's going to allegedly go do constituency work until the end of August. And so no committee work, no work in the House of Commons, collect salary for the rest of June, July, and August, and then step aside. Now, in fairness, that's the cynical view. In fairness, given that the House is sitting, if she retired effective immediately, the people in her riding would have no representation with no by-election coming anytime soon. In fact, Chantal Hebert made the point on At Issue yesterday that if ever it was going to happen, it probably wouldn't happen until November because it's certainly not going to happen before the referendum in Alberta and before the general election in the province of Quebec, because there are several by-elections to take place, and some of the by-elections, the one for Alexandre Boulris's seat in Rosemont-la-Petite-Patrie would definitely be one that affects the province of Quebec, and you certainly don't want to have a federal and a provincial voting um, event coincide in order to create some confusion here. I have been blessed to have great people who have served alongside me through 4 election cycles. I watched as my 2026 Board of Directors established the local Conservative nominating committee, and together they did an amazing job of running a fair and efficient election to choose Yorkton Melville's Conservative candidate of record to run in the next federal election. I am so pleased to congratulate Nelson Pohl on winning the contest. The depth of support I've received over the past 4 elections has been both sobering and affirming. Sobering in light of the overwhelming hardships imposed on the lives of those I represent, the economic sabotage and unethical, regressive overreach of the Carney Trudeau government, they still can't quit him, continues to deeply affect Canadians. Yet it has also been affirming over the past 10 years and counting. I have witnessed and shared in deep, prevailing, and confident hope. This hope is rooted in the sound common sense, knowledge, wisdom, and relationship building that flows from the steadfast pillars of faith, freedom, and family that our communities hold dear. Change will come, and it will be worth the struggle and the wait. I want to express my sincere gratitude to the leader of His Majesty's loyal opposition, the Honorable sorry, Pierre Poilievre. He has led with conviction and determination, but also with the humility of a servant leader who understands that public office is about service and others, not to self. I have every confidence that millions more Canadians will come to know the character and resolve I have seen and appreciated personally, and that they will choose him to be the next Prime Minister of Canada. To me, the veterans of the Canadian Armed Forces and Royal Canadian Mounted Police, thank you for your acceptance and your patience with me, a civilian. You deserve so much more than we can and must give. I am incredibly grateful to my professional, capable, and passionate staff, both past and present on Parliament Hill and in the constituency. I know they are the very best because of the constant positive feedback I receive. I simply could not do justice to my responsibilities without them. I am beyond thankful for the support of my husband and best friend. He is always by my side in spirit when we are apart, and more often than not, deeply engaged as we choose to do life together in every way, every day. To our precious 3, their amazing spouses, and our 10 incredible grandchildren are gifts from God. Please know that although it may be hard to fully understand at times, you are the reason I served Canada in this way. Honored and thankful, Kathy Wagentall. Now, she has been through 4 election cycles. That's usually enough for someone. But yes, clearly had intended, as she said, to have stayed the whole 4, and then just decided no. And no standard line about I'm leaving to spend more time with my family. And the requisite Pierre Poilievre has been such a great leader. He's doing a great job. Has he? Has he? Because when you ran, I'm guessing that you expected that you would be in government, and now you're not. And now you see how Pierre's been running the ship for the last year or so, and now you've decided to go. I'm not saying that that's it, but 4 others have crossed the floor. You're the 5th to leave the party in just over a year. You thought you were going to win when you ran. You made a commitment to stay 4 years, and you're just over 1 year. And I know I said, but I've changed my mind. With nothing really in there stating what it is that you've changed your mind. And I mean, and you literally had the fig leaf of I've done 4 cycles. I just don't have it in the tank anymore. But you didn't say that. Hmm. Well, I guess it is better for the Conservative Party that she leaves this way rather than cross the floor, because maybe Pierre's leadership couldn't take it. But um, I have a feeling, given certain public opinion polling at the moment, that when that by-election does come around. There's probably a very good chance that that particular riding doesn't necessarily uh, remain in the conservative column. It's going to go take a look at 338 and see what they have for Yorkton Melville if an election were held today. Well, that is interesting. I'm not sure if there's been a redistribution of a writing because I don't see it. There it is. Nope. According to this 338, it says that it is still a very much CPC safe writing. So it isn't because she sees the writing on the wall. Right now, their 338 is showing that Conservatives would win this one with 67% of the vote. So clearly a very blue seat. So maybe that will remain in the Conservative column. A lot of people might be talking again about what this does for a Liberal majority and all that kind of stuff. Doesn't really change much because, Liberals are going to need to have some by-elections at some point soon for the seats of Jonathan Wilkinson, Nathaniel Erskine-Smith, who delivered his final address on the floor as well, who appears to be leaving politics. Originally, it looked like to take a run for the leadership of the Ontario Liberal Party, but given what happened in the nomination for Scarborough Southwest, now looks like he might be running for a municipal seat on Toronto City Council. So that's looks like where he's going to be going next. And then there's another person, I can't remember who it is, who left. Somebody might be able to remind me in the chat here for the Liberals who's the third person who left. But there will be 3 by-elections for them, and then there will be 1 by-election because the NDP is losing a seat with Alexandre Boulerius. Stephen Guilbeault is the third one. There we go. And then the Bloc Québécois, I think with Monsieur Bonnet, I believe his name is, planning to resign his seat to run in provincial politics. It's Patrick Bonnet, who was the MP for Repentigny, and now Cathay Wagenthal, a Conservative. So with that happening, again, somebody from another party stepping aside, it looks like that the majority is not a problem at the moment. And I believe that there's a 6th person, because, Bloc Québécois, because there's another person I mentioned. No, that's 6, 3 from different parties and 3 from the Liberals. So now we're at 6 potential by-elections when they come up, whether or not they're all going to happen at the same time or different, because there's a rule that by-elections need to be called, I think, within 6 months of somebody officially resigning their seat, not when they announce they're going to resign, but when they officially resign their seat. So given that Mrs. Wagenthal or Miss Wagenthal is going to be resigning her seat officially as of August 31st, the 6-month countdown happens then. So I think there's probably a good chance for all 6 to be able to be held on the same day, which would be very convenient. And like I said, Chantal Hébert, in her best wisdom, says that probably won't happen until sometime in November, after the referendum and the Quebec provincial election are passed. All right, kids and cubs, that's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. We hope that you love listening to us because we love making this for you. Remember, sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless. So please tell your peeps and poops all about us. We really appreciate when you do, especially when you include a word or 2 of yours about why it is our content resonates with you. And we really appreciate that. If you would like to help us, kits and cubs, you can do so by scanning this QR code, which will bring you to our YouTube page. And there you can click on like, share, and subscribe. That helps us with the algorithm. And also, if you're watching on your phone and tablet fewer than 9 days after the live broadcast, if you can swipe left on the comment box, that will give you the opportunity to grant us some hype points, which helps smaller audience shows like ourselves gain a little bit more visibility. And we would definitely appreciate your help with that. Thank you so much. And if you'd like to help us in other ways, like we had at the beginning of the show, here our QR code will bring you to the emergency hydration fund at the Beaver Lodge via our coffee page. And that's coffee, ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, where if you like what we do and you find that what we do it has some value and resonates with you, and you have the ability and the inclination to offer us a little financial support, we would be very grateful to receive your enthusiastic expression of encouragement. Yes, we would. And that usually means a cup of hot chocolate for yours truly here, or a cup of hot coffee for Mr. Grizzly. And if there happens to be anything extra, well, that would be that goes to the show. Internet subscription fees, paying for our restream platform, all of that good stuff, so that we can keep going. And we thank you for all that you do, particularly since we're back to being fully independent and do not have the support of a network anymore. Your contribution means even more now than it did then. So we are very grateful for anything that you're able to contribute, and we thank you so very much for that. And when you contribute via our coffee platform, we get about 95 to 97% of your donation. You can also support us via YouTube with membership, super chat, and stickers, where we get 70% of your donation. And if you're doing the Buy Canadian thing, not wanting to feed the US CE Tech Bros, then a direct bank transfer to True North Eager Beaver at gmail.com from your institution to ours means zero funds get taken away from your donation. We get 100% of it. And that means more beaver bang for your buck. And we are very grateful for any way you choose to contribute. And now, if you're not able to contribute financially, please do not worry, because the gifts of your participation and attention are the ones that matter the most to us. And we would still like you to contribute in word by letting us know what you think about the show, good, bad, or ugly. Please be gentle if it's ugly, because we are sensitive creatures, but we do like constructive critique as much as we like compliments. And of course, you can recommend some guests for the True North Eager Beaver interview project. That would be fantastic, because we like giving the people what they ask for when we can make that happen. And of course, you can send us your good news. We really appreciate that, because that helps us on the days when the doom scrolling gets a little heavy. If you're looking for us on our socials, at True Eager at the Blue Sky Beaver Lodge, at on the Jitter, True North Eager Beaver on Facebook, our original home. We have the Damn Fam Discord, which is run by the best Damn Fam in all of podcasting. Technically, it's unofficial, but we sanction it. We sanction it. And then we have Kid on Cover running our Instagram. If you want to find us there, we have the Beaver Bites Substack, and of course our coffee page. And we are back on audio podcast as well. We have our first 2 episodes up, and we're looking to put a few more up before the weekend is out. So thank you so much for those of you who are finding us back there again. We've been gone for a while, and if you kept your subscription to us in your feed all that time, hoping that we would come back someday, there we go. We're back. So thank you for hanging in all that time. We definitely appreciate the fact that you have. Because democracy is something that you do, kids and cubs, we have our 3 petitions for you, and one of them we are going to be presenting for the very last time, because it closes tomorrow. And that one would be, and let's see if I can pick the right one out of the 3 off right on the first get-go. I did. Look at that. Look at me go. Yay. That's ourcommons.ca petition 7340, which calls upon the House of Commons to invoke its authority under Section 53 of the Supreme Court Act to refer the constitutionality of the 2025 Alberta Justice Statutes Amendment to the Supreme Court of Canada, because they need to see if it's constitutional, and to direct the Foreign Influence Transparency Commissioner to immediately investigate the meetings between Alberta Prosperity Project and the Trump administration, because yes, clearly it's only Indigenous people in Alberta who believe that some of this stuff needs to be investigated. Right? But again, they're the only ones who are disgraceful and who need to check themselves. So if you would like Daniel Smith to think that you need to check yourself, this would be a good petition to sign. So I put it up in the chat there for you. And there it is. And that petition is currently at, let's see, take a little tote. 39. Oh no, it's crossed the 40,000, 40,038 signatures as we are coming to the finish line. So you've got till 9:13 a.m. Eastern time to circulate this one and get it sent out. The other petition that we have for you is ourcommons.ca, petition E7395. You have a little more time for it. And this is the one that is calling upon the House of Commons to no longer fund Stornoway as an official residence for the leader of the opposition. And this one is open until July 25th. And I will put the link in the chat right there for that. And the final one that we have, which is closing soon, but there's a couple of more days, it goes till June 25th, calls upon the House of Commons to formally review the conduct of U.S. Ambassador Pete Hoekstra. And should the review find that Ambassador Hoekstra's actions are inconsistent with diplomatic protocol or detrimental to Canada's interests, maybe because he helped with some of that foreign interference, perhaps, maybe. The Government of Canada take appropriate diplomatic measures, including the possible request for his recall. And this petition, which closes again in 6 days, has the benefit of 26,756 signatures, kits and cubs. And so let's see if we can give this one a final push across the finish line and boost it a little. And there you have it, kits and cubs. Also, because democracy is something that you do, because National Indigenous Peoples Day takes place on the 21st, the day of the solstice, which is Sunday. If you have the opportunity to go to any events, please look them up in your area and go and offer your support and your encouragement, especially if there are walks to walk with them shoulder to shoulder. That would be a wonderful thing to do. Particularly in this time where it seems that there are certain political factions that are gleefully being as ugly as they can possibly be in an attempt to try to diminish, dehumanize, demonize, defile, degrade, and devalue them. All the D words. This year in particular, it might be important to take some time. And of course, on the 20th, the mental health walk. Very important. And tune in for our pubcast, of course. All right. Let's see. I think that's all I've got. Oh, words of wisdom. Hey, ride the wave, baby. Ride the wave. If you're Canadian and you know it, clap your hands. Ride that wave. It was a good moment, and let's. There are some conservatives out there that are trying to poo-poo on it. I'm looking at you, Lisa McLeod, in particular. Don't let them get you down. This is a good moment. We're supposed to be celebrating, and we're supposed to be having fun, and we're supposed to be enjoying this. So just ride that wave. If you're cheering on Team Canada, ride that wave. And with that, kits and cubs, if I can get you, I'm going to say it could be a tough world out there, so please be kind to and gentle with yourself. And if I can get you to say on the count of 3, Mr. Beaver, please cue the cock on 1, 2, and 3. Let me hear it. Ooh, yeah, that is the good stuff right there. It had some tunes, some airs of "Oh Canada" in the back there. So since you asked so kindly and so patriotically, you are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and The Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music. And kids and cubs, um, little update from the World Women's Softball Championships. Team Canada suffered its first defeat to Chinese Taipei. It was, um, in fact, it would seem that the mercy rule had to be invoked. So Canada clearly did not. Canada did not have a good game there. um, yeah, 10-0 mercy rule was invoked. Canada sits now at 3-1 in the competition, but merely a speed bump, merely a speed bump on the way to glory. And of course, talking about Canadians who make us proud, once more time, kits and cubs, as I say, right? Ride the wave. I'm going to break out my trusty little maple leaf here for you. And go, Canada, go. Well, you know it's here. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody. Join us for the podcast if you can. And Monday, I may potentially have a pre-record because I'm going to be out of town. Not sure if I'll be able to do a live show, so I might have a pre-record for you. And then back on Tuesday for our conversation with Kit Dan about his bid to become the councillor in Ward 8 of Toronto. So lots going on. Amoureux, bisous.